A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. The Pharisees approached Jesus and asked, "Is it lawful for a husband to divorce his wife?" They were testing him. He said to them in reply, "What did Moses command you?" They replied, "Moses permitted a husband to write a bill of divorce and dismiss her." But Jesus told them, "Because of the hardness of your hearts, he wrote you this commandment. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, no human being must separate." In the house, the disciples again questioned Jesus about this. He said to them, "Whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery." The Gospel of the Lord. At the 1999 Academy Award ceremony, the award for Best Actor went to a man who didn't speak a word of English in his entire role. It went to Roberto Benigni, who played the part of a Jewish-Italian bookstore owner in the movie Life is Beautiful. He spoke the role completely in Italian, and for American audiences, the translation came with captions at the bottom of the screen. And I remember seeing the movie back in 1998, and recently I got a copy and I watched it again, and it's pretty easy to see how he won the award for Best Actor, even though he didn't speak a word of English. You could see that he totally immersed himself in the motion picture with his body language, with his facial expressions, with his tone of voice. And I read about what a big part of the movie he was. He not only was the lead actor, he directed the movie, and he wrote the script mostly based upon the experiences of his dad, who was a prisoner in a Nazi concentration camp during the Second World War. And the picture, to a large degree, takes place during the time of the Holocaust. And for those who watched the movie, I think the big image that they took away was the very moving image of Guido and his very young son Joshua being taken off to this Nazi concentration camp, and how Guido, through the love of his son, did everything he could to protect his son, to shield him from all the horrors of the concentration camp, and in the end he ended up giving his life for his son. But when I watched the movie very recently, I saw another image that I remember today, and that's this loving relationship between Guido and his wife Dora that we see throughout the motion picture. As it opens, he accidentally runs into this beautiful young woman, and he's immediately smitten for her, and he is able to win her hand through a combination of charm and a little bit of magic. And the movie scene very quickly cuts to the time when they've been married for a few years and they have this young son Joshua. But then the Second World War has begun, and Guido is made to register with the local authorities, and then on Joshua's birthday, both he and Guido are arrested and put in a boxcar on a train to be taken to the concentration camp. And Dora, his wife, doesn't get arrested because she's not Jewish, but when she finds out what happened, she rushes to the train station and she tells the German officer, "There must be some mistake." And he looks at his papers and he says, "There's no mistake." And then this loving mother, this loving wife, tells the officer, "Then I want to get on that train too." And he tells her, "Go home." But she keeps insisting, "I want to get on that train. Please let me get on that train." She would rather go to the concentration camp with her husband and her son than to be left behind outside the concentration camp. And Guido is able to see her get on the train, and they go off to the concentration camp, but then the men are separated from the women and they're not able to see each other. And then we have this scene while Dora is sorting through some clothing with some women, probably clothing of those who have been put to death. Guido at the same time is pushing a wheelbarrow on a work detail, and he passes by the concentration camp's intercom just as the German officer manning the intercom steps away. And Guido looks around and then very quickly goes up to the microphone at the intercom, and he knows his wife is out there somewhere, and he speaks into the intercom. "Good morning, Princess. Last night I dreamt about you all night. We were going to the movies. You were wearing that pink suit that I really like. You are all I think about, Princess. I always think about you." And he speaks the words in Italian, and you see the captions coming across telling the American viewer what he's saying. But that first greeting, the words, "Buongiorno, Principessa," Guido speaks those words with such joy and such enthusiasm, and we hear the words go out and cut through the grim silence of the concentration camp, and Dora looks up at the loudspeaker, and the hope that shines in her heart when she hears those words, you don't need a caption to know what's going on. They tell of the love between this husband and his wife, and the union that not even the guards at the Nazi concentration camp could separate. And in today's gospel, from the Gospel of Mark, Christ emphasizes the inseparable union of marriage. What God has joined together, no man may separate. The man and his wife shall be joined together, and they shall become one flesh. I've been thinking about that gospel and looking for an image that would embody the words of Christ. And I thought about that movie, Life is Beautiful. Before it was released, Roberto Benigni had a private screening with Pope John Paul II, and it was said that this was perhaps the Pope's favorite movie. I asked myself, why is that? And I thought about those two words, "Buongiorno, Principessa," and how they were spoken at that one point, uniting Guido and Dora. And he spoke them in his role in the movie, but it really wasn't just that, because the actress playing his wife was indeed Nicoletta Braschi, who at the time of the movie was Roberto Benigni's wife for the previous 6 years, and 20 years later they're still going strong as far as I know. When I think about those two words, "Buongiorno, Principessa," as a Christian, I feel the call in my life to affirm the inviolate union between husband and wife in my prayer, in my words, and in my thoughts. And as a husband, I hear the call of Christ, and to me and to all husbands and wives to live up to that image. I'm going to remember that greeting, and maybe I can use it on a special occasion, on a birthday, on an anniversary, or maybe just sometime when things are a little bit tough. And it could remind me and my wife of that love between us and that union, what God has joined together, that no one can separate.